This lesson is about giving and the generous spirit that should be the spark for our giving. In this lesson, Paul is not raising funds for himself or his ministry. He is not seeking contributions to build an addition to the church or to pay bills. Paul is not even seeking to raise funds for his mission work or evangelical work. Paul is trying to raise funds to give to the saints who live in dire poverty in Jerusalem. Now, a little background. When Paul first arrived in Corinth on his second missionary journey, he preached and a number of Corinthians came to Christ. In their gratitude, they proposed to make a contribution to the poor in Jerusalem. The collection of these gifts provides the backdrop for Paul's teaching of Christian stewardship in our lesson today. The church at Corinth was one of the largest and most important churches in Greece. The church at Corinth included Jews, but mostly Gentiles who had been converted. Within the church, there was a vast difference in the socio-economic class of the members. Paul introduces the subject of the Corinthians' pledge to Jerusalem by describing the incredible generosity of the church at Macedonia and citing 5 excellent qualities of the church at Corinth. Paul describes them as having a strong faith, of having knowledge of the word, of fidelity to preach and teach the word, that they were sincere in their convictions, and they exhibited love. Paul approaches this lesson with Greek logic, saying that if Corinth excels in these qualities, the church should have a generous spirit, demonstrating by actions the grace, the unmerited kindness of God. This is especially true of giving outside of the congregation's local needs. Now, Paul makes it clear that he is not commanding them to give, but rather encouraging them to give as a demonstration of their love. Our giving today should not be out of a spirit of obligation. We shouldn't have to be commanded to give. No material gift will earn us a place in the kingdom. Christians should give from a gracious, generous spirit, and our churches should have that same charitable spirit. After all, if either the members or the churches have a selfish spirit, the poor are still left without help. Now, let's remember, Paul has been traveling, and so he has seen the Macedonian generosity and says that the Macedonians demonstrated a sincere love, a sacrificial generosity. Corinth was a church with gifts. It would be measured by the Macedonian record. The amount given by the Macedonian church was not the real record. It was the earnestness by which they gave. Macedonian saints were poor, a poverty so great that Paul called it deep poverty. Yet they gave with zeal. He reminds the Corinthian Christians that last year they were the first to want to help. They were the first to actually help Jerusalem, and that their work was not over. But Paul, in his letter, is no precursor to modern televangelists that use guilt trips and false promises to solicit funds. Paul recognizes that circumstances change in a year, so he says they should complete what they had started, but only within the resources that they have. Paul says that our gifts should not be based on a spirit of obligation or guilt, but based upon our love for Jesus Christ, for God, and our fellow man. The gift is only acceptable if it is given with the right spirit, a willing and generous heart, and that the gift is based upon those things that we have. Now, I'm a tax guy, so I know a loophole, and this looks like a loophole, but it's not. If you don't desire to give, you need not look for a loophole. Just don't give. Remember, a gift is only acceptable if it is given with a generous spirit. The Macedonian sacrifice was generously given. Paul cautions not to give and place yourself in hardship. If you have the resources and the generous spirit, give so that those suffering can be helped. Paul reminds them in turn that if they have a time of need, other Christians will rally to help them. Paul challenges us today to look beyond ourselves, to look beyond our families, to look beyond our own churches, and to help others. But these gifts are not a commandment to us, but rather an opportunity for us to share the bounty of God with others, to show God's grace without regard to merit, and to love, and to show that we love in more than mere words, but in actions. That's the lesson for this week. Have a great week.